In this video, I'm going to show you how to take entries from trend lines where most traders get trapped, and we are going to take the entries. So make sure you stay till the end of the video so that you can see how you can take your entries from where the other traders are going to be in a trap. So let's get straight to the video. Alright, so as you know, when we have a trend, your standard trend line, how we draw it, if we have charts looking like this, we are going to draw our trend line basically if we have one touch, two touch, three touch, and how the most of the traders knows it, we have a breakout, retest, and continuation. Now there's a bunch of ways you can trade a trend line. There's nothing wrong with that. Each trader has its own strategy that works. For example, this one here, 1, 2, 3 touches. So this defies the trend. So I'm using the trend line basically just to indicate where the trend is currently at. But where I'm going to use the trend line is, for example, something like this. When we have a trend line like this, I want to wait for price to take some sort of liquidity, and then I want price to continue higher. So what do I mean by that? So let's say, for example, here is resting liquidity. Now this can be something, an order block, a fair value gap, resting liquidity, whichever trading model you trade, you can apply it to get the fake out and the false breakouts for a trend line. So basically I'm going to wait for liquidity to be swept, and then I'm going to find my entry pattern right over here. And it's going to work the same if we are in a downtrend. So basically when we have a downtrend, I want to wait for price to take some sort of liquidity, for example, right over here. And then I want price to continue downwards again. And then I'm going to find my entry model right over here. And the best of all, I'm going to show you how to get all of this without even drawing out one single trend line. So the first thing you want to do, you want to go to indicators. You want to type in price action toolkit by Flux Charts. You're going to add it to your chart. You are going to go all the way down to trend lines, and you're going to put the sensitivity on 15. And then let's go straight to the chart and I can show you how this looks. Alright, so as you can see here, I'm on the chart. The indicator, the price action toolkit by Flux Charts, literally drew out every single trend line that's going to be important for us to take our trades. I didn't draw one. The indicator literally draw everything for me. Alright, so let's look at this piece of price action right over here. So when we zoom in, we can clearly see there is an order block area resting right over here. So when I mark this area out, I can clearly see that is an order block area. Let's quickly see if we can refine it. There we go. So now we can refine this order block area, for example. Let's go back to the 1 hour. As you know, my entry models, I like for liquidity to be taken. So here, resting liquidity just above this 1 hour, 30 minute, 1 hour order block right over here. So now we already had this trend line, right over here. And you can see there's a bunch of touches. And we can clearly see we had a big impulse move right over here. Retracing, this is the high that we want to target. And you can clearly see this order block has been created, resting liquidity. So let's see what price does, and this acts some part of resistance as well. So let's see what price does. There the indicator drew out this trend line. So this is going to be perfect. So what most traders want to see, they want to see price bounce off this trend line, continue upwards, but we want price to take out this resting liquidity right over here before we continue upwards. So let's see what price does. At the trend line, moving slowly down. Now we took the liquidity inside of our 1 hour order block. Let's go down to the lower time frames. Now we are waiting for a nice entry model. Let's go more down. So entry models for me is anywhere between 15 and 1 minute entry models. So now you can see we had a big push into our zone. We tapped the midline of our order block. Currently we can see right over here, liquidity has been taken. Now we're waiting for price to close above this level. There we go. And as you can see, we left a fair value gap right over there. And as you know, I like trading inverse fair value gaps. And here you can see we have an inverse fair value gap with that fair value gap rested right over there. So if price breaks out right over here, I will enter on a candle closure and I will put my stops below this low. So let's see what happens. So we never got tagged into this fair value gap right over here, but we broke out of this inverse fair value gap. So I will put my stops right over here and I will target a 1 to 2 risk reward trade, and let's see if this plays out. And as you can see, there's a higher time frame trend line being drawn out there, so that's also a good target point. And as you can see, the 1 to 2 is actually lining up pretty nicely. And there, as you can see, target was achieved really quick. All right, so let's have a look at this example here. So you can see the indicator plotted out 2 trend lines going from here, 1, 2, 3, then 1, 2, 3, and then 1 here at the top. So how can you approach this? So you can clearly see we are in an uptrend right over here. The trend line is also showing that we are in an uptrend. Like you can see here, price entered from this fair value gap here, pushed up, we created new highs, came back, liquidity has been taken into an order block, and this created this rejection, and then the second touch of the trend line. But now we have something to form right over here. So remember, we are waiting for liquidity to be taken. So let's rewind a little bit and let's quickly take this trade. So let's have a look. So if we play price out, we had a wick down. So we're waiting for some sort of liquidity. So liquidity is resting right over there, did not take it out. We have liquidity resting right over here, did not take it out. And we also have liquidity resting right over here and have not taken it out yet. But we also still have liquidity right over here on this high. So let's see what happens. So there, price created this trend line. So if we zoom in right over here, let's just play a little bit forward. There you can see we have internal liquidity resting right over there. Was this fake out? So most traders are going to look for this breakout, retest, and continuation. We want liquidity to be taken and then find an entry model right over here. So if we go down to the lower time frames, you can clearly see we had a market structure shift right over here. We had a nice fair value gap that became an inverse fair value gap. Could have entered your first trade right over here. If you want to be a little bit more conservative, you can wait for the retest and you can put your stops above this high, and then you can target a 1 or 2 risk to reward trade. So let's see how this plays out. Enter the trade, and we have our TP, so that's trade number 1. So let's go back to the 1 hour. So now we have this liquidity resting here. We created one here as well. So let's see what happens if we have anything else. We have a nice big order block right over here where price actually is reacting from now. Let's have a look. Let's go to the lower time frame. So we tapped in our order block. Do we have an entry model? The only thing I'm seeing, we have an order block resting right over here. We had this liquidity that's been taken. Now let's see if price comes to our order block. There we go. We got tapped into our order block. You can take your trade and you can put your stops either below this low, or if you want to be safe, you can put it right below this order block right over here where these lows are resting right over here. That lows, but it's just a little bit far. So let's just put it right over here and we can target a 1 or 2 risk to reward trade. And let's see how this plays out. And as you can see, we had a nice big push into the previous order block as well. And now on the lower time frame, what happened? We also created liquidity on this order block, was taken out, and then we had that big push up. All right, so this works literally on any time frame. Price is fractal. So use the liquidity as, so use the trend line as an easy way to spot fake out. So if you have a trend, you wait for the liquidity to be taken right over here, and then you find your entry model to continue to the original direction. Hope this video helps. Also, Flux Charts price action tool, link is in the description, and then I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.